Sanctuary.
Spoke to Perun, the all-wise Skifadi, a priest of the Temple of the Fernflower from the lineage of the Rassens. You tell me, wise teacher, what forces compel the aliens to leave their homelands in the world of darkness and bring them to us on Midgard? The god of great wisdom answered the priest, the aliens covet everything that is foreign, that does not belong to them. All their thoughts are only about power, over all worlds, about the capture of the possessions and creations of the bright worlds. The goal of the aliens is to disrupt the harmony that reigns in the world of light, and to destroy the descendants of the heavenly kin and the great race, for only they can provide a worthy resistance to the forces of darkness. The servants of the world of darkness believe that all worlds created by the great Ramha should belong only to them, and while dwelling on the blooming lands, they seek to teach human children greed, for greed destroys knowledge. When knowledge is ultimately killed, shame eventually perishes. When shame is killed, truth is oppressed. The death of truth, happiness will perish. When happiness is indeed completely destroyed, a person truly perishes, and if a person perishes, then foreigners freely seize all his wealth. They consider wealth the most reliable mainstay and build their world on wealth. In the world of darkness, life is accessible only to those who possess wealth. A destitute person is like a dead man in the desert. They take away people's prosperity through the power of their deception, hoping, knowing, that if they strip people of their support and faith, purpose in life, and freedom of spirit, they will destroy the people themselves. Children of humanity, in such a state in the world of reality, freely choose the path of death, and direct their weapons against foreign villains, for it is better to accept a glorious death in a righteous battle against foreign enemies than to submit to foes. People, weak in spirit, lose their sanity. Either they fall under the power of foreign enemies, or others, in their thirst for gain, go to serve the foreigners. The misfortune of such lost people is worse than death, for death, according to the law, is the eternal path of peace, and there is no one in the world of reality living who has surpassed death. Foreign enemies relentlessly drive the children of humanity to madness, and people, losing their sanity increasingly more and more, commit cruel acts. People indeed reach the violation of blood commandments in their wickedness, and for those guilty of blood mixing, hell will open wide its doors. And if a person does not reject all this, and if he does not awaken, he will go straight to hell, and the gods will not help him, for he chooses his own path. The awakening of a person is only in knowledge, and the eye of knowledge saves him. Having attained knowledge, the human child again gazes at the Vedas, and once more becomes devoted to the striving for spiritual life, with conscience becoming the head of all deeds. Listening to his conscience, he hates all evil, which makes his conscience strong, and a person creates his own happiness. In happiness, the person himself is created. Calm people are always very skilled in their affairs, and steadfast in their duty to their lineage. They do not indeed conceive of lawlessness, and do not act sinfully. Shameless or foolish people, whether men or women, do not succeed in fulfilling their duty to the gods and their lineage, and resemble foreigners. Those who have a conscience honor their gods and ancestors, and they are directed towards immortality, not to the hellish world. Who among the children of humanity, coming into rage from madness, will threaten. Who will hate the good, such a person will be called a foreigner, grey and despicable by people. Whoever, at the instigation of foreigners, in delusion and greed, seeks to take happiness from good people, will not control their anger, and will not hold on to happiness for long, for all the wealth of those who have strayed from the path of light will go to foreigners. And the hearts of all dark forces are filled with joy when the children of humanity, heeding the deceitful words of foreigners, stray from the bright path. And they walk the base path, accumulating material goods rather than spiritual ones, at the will of foreign enemies, thereby leading their lineages to destruction. And the foreign enemies know that all unjust goods and the wealth taken from good people will undoubtedly obscure human reason, and people's souls will become hardened. Children of the human races, do not heed the words of foreigners, for they are deceitful and wish to destroy your souls, so that they do not reach the heavenly Asgard. And they were eternal wanderers in the unending darkness. Not allow foreigners near your daughters, for they will corrupt your daughters and defile their pure souls, and they will destroy the blood of the great race. For the first man leaves behind the images of spirit and blood in the womb. Foreign images of blood indeed drive the bright spirit out of human children, and the mixing of blood leads to destruction. And this lineage, degenerating, perishes without healthy offspring, for there will be no inner strength that kills all thieves and diseases brought to Midgard by foreign enemies coming from the dark world. Do not heed the exhortations of the tempting enemies, and do not be seduced by their false promises. The foreign enemies have no compassion for either the human children of the heavenly lineage, or for being similar to themselves. For everyone who comes from the dark world, or is a descendant born in Midgard, or another land, thinks only of a life of idleness, exploiting the labor and trust of human children. Through deception, cunning, and unjust lies, the foreigners gain the trust of the people. Boasting of their friendship with the elders of the lineage, they ensnare the human children with lies, corrupting their pure souls and accustoming them to base deeds. Foreign enemies call their animalistic lust a delight, while the birth of children is deemed a wicked madness. And they indeed call upon the children of humanity to disregard the traditions of their fathers. Children of humanity from the great race, and you, descendants of the heavenly lineage, be pure in soul and spirit, and let a clear conscience be the measure of your deeds. Drive out from all your lands the foreign enemies and all their descendants, or they will destroy your bright souls with their soullessness, and with their wicked deeds they will ruin your bodies, using you and your descendants for their dark purposes, while they will comfort their flesh with your sons and daughters. Whoever among you and your descendants will remember all this, and drive out the foreign enemies and their descendants from the holy land of the great race, he is the true savior and protector of his lineage, and all lineages of the great race and the heavenly lineage. And those who will heed the deceitful words of foreigners, and will give their daughters to them, or will take a foreign daughter for their son, that one is a renegade of the human race, and there will be no forgiveness for him from the bright gods and the heavenly lineage for all days without end.